Hello there, it's July 13th, 2021. I'm Joe Weston, and we're here for our online global practice for reviving the global heart. It's wonderful, as I always say, to see familiar faces, to see new faces, people who gather from around the world to create community of open-heartedness and fierceness, fierce compassion and resilience, and that we work together to practice, to be that in the world. What I say, first as midwives for a system that is dying and a new system that's being born, and as nurturers and protectors in this time of what's unfolding on this planet. And that in essence, what we're nurturing and we're protecting is yes, we're nurturing and we're protecting humans, we're nurturing and protecting all beings, we're nurturing and protecting the planet itself. But in essence, what our task is, I feel at this moment, is what we're nurturing is our highest human potential. What we're nurturing is within ourselves and those around us and those we don't even know, and even our adversaries, that holding and nurturing and protecting civility, in essence. And that what if the only adversary we have at this time is lack of civility? And that we can rally more and more people that transcends party, race, culture, economic status, nation, behind this idea of that what we're here to do is to protect and nurture our highest human potential and our highest human values at a time when it feels like, to me, and everyone might have their different viewpoint, where that feels threatened, where it seems that at this moment, what's being rewarded is lack of civility, or that we just feel like that's the only way we can make it or survive at this moment or succeed. So who are those that are holding space for that? So that's in a sense what we're here to do, is to not only talk about it, not only think about it, not complain and all of that, but to actually practice, that we open the capacity within our own hearts to be able to hold more beings in our hearts in a loving way, in a nurturing way, in a protective way, at the same time cultivating the resilience to be able to manage that in a world that is pretty challenging. And that's it. It's very simple what we're doing here. However, that's hard work, because it's so easy to be wired in a different way. And for me, the way I would define that is what I would call compassion and action. That, if you remember, I always talk in all the work I do about skills-based learning, that to learn a new skill, it starts with gathering the information. That's not learning it, just having read a good book about it. It's just having gathered information. We take it into our hearts with a deeper contemplation, we personalize it. We have a deeper understanding and wisdom of it, but we haven't mastered it yet. It's not until we get into our core, our bellies, and we move through our bodies and we try it out. And in the process of trying it out, we gather more information, which we contemplate, and then we try again with more information and wisdom and experience. And in that process of repeating that over and over again, hundreds of thousands, maybe millions of times, we're rewiring the neural pathways to learn new skills. That, to me, is when we have embodied the very thing that we are trying to learn or practice. Skills-based learning. So yes, people could have a great idea about compassion, what that is. Some people can really, in their hearts, feel compassion, with a sense of empathy. And some people are moved in their bodies to go into action and to do something. And I want to talk about, and I've talked about that often, is like, how do we get from idea to action? How do we, because many of us are saying that I feel powerless. I feel like there's more I would like to be doing, but I don't know what to do, or there's so much we can be doing on a daily basis that are really simple, and you never know the impact of it. And I want to share a story to do that. But and today I want to take that further from what is idea to a deep empathy and a feeling for compassion, to actually living and acting from compassion. So the story I'd like to tell is, this happened Friday evening. I was at home. I was going to settle into one of my practices. It was new moon, so I was all ready for that. New moon in Cancer, for those of you who were into that. I was ready for all of that. And then I got a text from a veteran buddy of mine that said, "Joe, can you take the call?" Now, I don't know how much you know about what's happening with veterans in this country. I talk about it in all my work. If you don't know, let me share with you that the statistic of the number of combat veterans who commit suicide on a daily basis is 20. 5 to 6 years ago, it was 22 a day who actually commit suicide. Not think about it, but do it. 20 a day. It's a horrible, that's my opinion, horrible situation of these men and women who have sacrificed everything. Their families have sacrificed everything to come back to a country that is just not supporting them. And they just can't figure out a way to make it work because they're not getting the support they need or the skills they need. And that's where I devoted myself to working with combat veterans for that reason. As a civilian, I think more civilians need to be doing that, to be of support, to show our love and appreciation, and to offer any skills that we can do to help them feel more integrated back into our society and get them strong on their feet so that they can take their wonderful skills that they've learned and use that for benefit for themselves and families and for all. Anyway, this is someone I haven't spoken to in over 6 years, who I was close with. He was also working with me, working with other veterans. And after he had a challenging time and had inpatient care, he devoted his life to helping other veterans to make sure they don't kill themselves, and was a hero in that. And we would text every once in a while, but we haven't spoken in years. So I knew that when I got the text, Joe, can you take the call, that it was significant. Because what that also meant was he was emotionally in trouble. So I'm not going to reveal a lot, but we got on the call, and he was back inpatient. He had serious flashback that he was stuck in and needed to be hospitalized. And he said that you're the only person out that's not my wife or my other veteran buddies that I'm calling, because I remembered how kind you were. And how you really saw me for who I am. And you didn't judge me. And then he went on about other things. He wanted to know why I'm not married yet. And he just became a reverend and he wants to marry me and all that kind of stuff. And we had a great talk, and I was there to support him, to help him remember who he was, what a big-hearted human being he was. And I felt deeply honored. And I felt like I was deeply honored. And in a way that I thought to myself, wow, that I'm a civilian. And he actually confessed a lot of the things he did. He was on tour, a lot of tours. He was in battle a lot and was confessing in detail some of the things that he did. I knew that I could hold that for him. It was intense. And so I'm trying to still stay engaged with him and connected. And why do I bring that up? Because for me, I'm not saying this to brag. I'm not saying this to do anything except to say that he remembered me, and that for me, there's this level of taking the compassion further. But also, I texted him that day. Why? Because I was thinking from my heart, from a place of compassion, all of the men and women who had fought in Afghanistan, American troops. And now just considering how might they be feeling now that the US is pulling out all troops after 20 years. I have no viewpoint on that. I don't know if that's good or bad. It doesn't even matter. But I'm just wondering, in my compassionate heart, just thinking to myself, how might they be feeling? Are they feeling elated? Are they feeling challenged? Do they feel deserved? Whatever. So what did I do? I simply sent all of them a text saying, hey, just thinking about you at this time with the US pulling out of Afghanistan, just wondering how you're feeling. Get in touch if you want. And a few of them got in touch. And I think part of the reason why this person thought of me, aside from the fact that he said he remembered me for who I was that I had texted that day. And I had been texting last couple of weeks or so. Why am I bringing that up? Is to say a simple text can save someone's life. You just never know. And that's a practice. That's compassion in action. It didn't cost me money. I didn't have to donate anything. It took me seconds. I've still got two thumbs and my eyesight. That's all I need, and electricity and Wi-Fi connection to get on my phone and send a damn text. That it's really that simple. That to me is compassion in action. And why I didn't do it because I read statistics about why that was be good. I followed my heart. My heart said, and I took the time to think of other things other than my own self, right? We're so caught up in our own self-cherishing, and we're so caught up with our own stuff that part of this practice of compassion is how much bandwidth in your own thinking is going towards other people and their struggles and what they're going through in your thoughts and your hearts, your body and your words. So I trained myself. This is the point of this. I am not special. I've trained myself to do this. I've trained myself that when I see a news story that the United States is pulling out of Afghanistan, that maybe not my third thought, but my third or fourth thought is, wow, how must soldiers who fought there be feeling today? That I trained myself to be able to do that. And this practice trains us to be able to hold more beings in our hearts so that we can use some of our capacity to consider what they're going through. So in essence, there's a sense of, it starts with thinking compassionately, right? The idea of wanting to support other people, alleviate their suffering. There's a deeper level of empathy where you can actually connect and feel into other people's pain, which is great. It's far more beneficial than just thinking about, the poor person. There's taking action. There's compassion in action. It's like, wow, I feel their suffering, and I'm going to see what I can do with a text, donating, with learning, training myself to be more of an ally to different communities, right? Those are things you can do. And what I'm thinking is there's the next level, which is a more mastery level and harder to understand. It's the beingness of compassion. You are compassion. You're not thinking compassion anymore. You're not feeling compassion anymore. You're not acting compassion. You simply are it. And because you are it, everything you do, every thought is compassion. Every feeling is compassion. Every action is compassion. And that takes practice. I'm not saying I'm there, but I've just been thinking about that. The resonance of who you are moving in the world, people will sense that and feel that and know that. And it makes me think of two quotes that have always inspired me through my life. The first one is, you'll understand the context and then we'll do our practice, from ancient runes, from Nordic runes. And the quote is, I will to will thy will. I will to will thy will, capital T, which for me interprets into I create the intention to activate my will in service of thy will. To whomever that is, if it's God, if it's Buddha, Allah, Spirit, universal life force, energy, love. I will to will thy will, which basically says, I get out of the way and let thy will come through. That's what that's saying. My intention is to get out of the way so that something, my highest self, my connection with something larger than myself can come through. Or one that you probably know by St. Francis Assisi. Make me an instrument of thy peace. Make me an instrument. It's not make me peaceful, right? It's not let me write a good book about peace. It's not let me feel peace. It's not let me do things that are peaceful. Please help me to simply be an instrument for your peace. And that is a higher level, I think, of spiritual practice and of being on the planet, is to see yourself as an instrument. where things are moving through you. I find it interesting. The very first course, from my theater background, the very first course I taught in acting was called Yourself as Instrument. This idea of you can, as an actor, you are probably can be the best actor if you see yourself as an instrument, simply that the character comes through and uses you as an instrument. A piano doesn't stop and say, hey, look at me, aren't I great? A piano is simply an instrument that is used to make the most amazing sounds come out that move people to tears or to see God, even. But as soon as the piano says, hey, look at me, I look pretty cool, I'm really shiny, and I'm making great sound, it's not going to produce the same sound it would if it simply said, make me an instrument of your genius music. I will to will thy will. So I offer that. Sorry, it was a long story to get to this, is that what does it mean to embody compassion? That we are an instrument of compassion that transcends our thoughts, our words, and our actions. And that our thoughts and our words and our actions are taken over by our deep desire to be an instrument of compassion. So with that, let's take a breath. I'd like to lead us through our practice with this in mind. Remembering there's no right way to do this or wrong way to do this. It's about finding your way. Finding a way to sit, what we call power sit, where your spine is erect and straight without being rigid. Allow flow to happen up and down the spine, and space in the rib cage for the lungs to breathe freely, circulatory system, organs to settle. Also elongating from the back of your neck, so you're tucking your chin in a little bit. Shoulders relaxed, belly relaxed. Power sit, bringing your attention now to your core and your lower belly, approximately the width of 3 fingers below your navel, a third of the way into the body, the front of the body. Bringing your full attention to this spot, your center of gravity, impulse, personal power, awareness. From your center, become aware of your contact points, what parts of your body are connecting with what you're sitting on or the ground. Feeling the sensations of those parts of your body connecting with the ground and with the chair or whatever you're sitting on. Feeling gravity pressing those parts down towards the ground. Letting your nervous system experience the stability of that, which allows the nervous system to transmit the message through the body. You are held. You can relax. From your center, become aware of your physical body. Focusing now on this idea of yourself as instrument. Different components, like the piano has keys, strings, has hammers, has legs, etc., etc. Make me an instrument of thy peace. I will to will thy will. Exploring your instrument, the physical part of you. How resonant is it? How is it communicating with you? Wisdom. In this present moment. In this instrument that is called you, checking in with your emotional body. How much of an instrument how resonant is your emotional self? clear is it to allow compassion to flow through? There's no judgment. You don't have to do anything or go anywhere. It's simply observing in this moment how much access you have to your instrument, yourself. From your center, become aware of your mental body, your thoughts, the quality of your thoughts, rhythm of your thoughts, pace. And as an instrument, is it at this moment, are they tight, like the strings of a piano, too tight, too loose? Not making the sound it can make? From your center, now bringing awareness to your heart, or the middle of your chest, where your heart power resides, compassion, understanding, courage. From your center and from your heart, tapping into that part of you that has access to something larger than yourself. This is part of your instrument, a more subtle part of your instrument, which gains access to something larger than yourself. And in this moment, how resonant is it? Receptive, open. And with that connection to that part of you, observing what your connection is at this moment to something larger than yourself. And allow that to flow, allow that to be. Letting energy flow and emotions flow. Make me an instrument of thy peace. Energy to flow and emotions to flow. Presence, awareness, balance, and flow. Maintaining this idea of being an instrument, the will to will thy will. Not knowing where this compassion can take you. As you continue to see yourself as an instrument, now stretching out the boundaries of who you are to your own personal space. This is also part of your instrument. Level of safety within your personal space, level of a sense of this is mine. I have a right to this. Setting your personal boundaries. Also a necessary component in this idea of you as an instrument. With this awareness of yourself in this present moment, from your center and from your heart, take a full breath in and through your nose, out through your mouth. Holding on to this sense of connection with something larger than yourself, seeing yourself as an instrument. Stretching your awareness now from your center and from your heart to your surroundings, in all directions, behind you, above you, around you, placing yourself in a context, in this moment, in this place. How are you resonating with your surroundings? With this awareness of yourself and your surroundings in this present moment, from your center and from your heart, take a full breath in through your nose, out through your mouth. Expanding your awareness from your center and from your heart, maintaining a connection with yourself, your surroundings, as well as your connection with something larger than yourself. Now you bring your instruments to the orchestra. As you bring your awareness now from your center and from your heart with those in this meditation circle, those of us who gather throughout North America, Europe, other parts of the world. As we gather, each one of us our own individual, unique instrument instrument of peace, of compassion, creating beautiful music together, stronger as a unified force, complementing each other, harmonizing with each other. Sharing a common experience that goes beyond who we are. With an awareness of yourself, your surroundings, and those in this meditation circle, from your center and from your heart, take a full breath in through your nose, out through your mouth. Expanding from your center and from your heart, in your heart, just whispering to yourself, make me an instrument of thy peace, as you bring your awareness now to, from your center and your heart, to all human beings, beginning with those human beings that you see as loved ones. Who arises in your heart? What faces do you see, or groups of people? Standing face to face with them, holding on to this just request or desire, I will to will, I will. Make me an instrument of thy peace, without doing or saying anything, simply with your presence and your awareness, imagining how you are already influencing those that stand before you as loved ones. Connecting from your core and your heart with their core and their own resonance. Maintaining that connection with something larger than yourself, and this idea of being an instrument for peace. From your center and from your heart, become aware of those that you would label strangers. Who arises in your heart? Who do you see? What faces? What groups of people? Perhaps people in Haiti, perhaps people in Cuba, perhaps people in Miami, perhaps people suffering from extreme heat in various parts of the world, or drought. The English football team, whatever comes up in your heart. And standing face to them, it's simply this idea of being an instrument of peace, simply with your presence and your awareness, how you might be impacted. Allowing energy to flow and emotions to flow. And from your center and from your heart, becoming aware of those human beings that you would label adversary. Who arises in your heart? What faces do you see? Groups of people standing face to face from your core and your heart to their core and their heart, mustering up that aspirational desire, make me an instrument of thy peace. How might you be influencing them as you stand face to face with them? Who do you identify as thy? It's that thing that is larger than yourself, flowing through you as an instrument. How might you be influencing them right now? And as you now acknowledge all human beings, loved ones, strangers, and adversaries, perhaps it is a wish for them, a blessing for them, that they in one day recognize their human potential to be an instrument for peace. That they willingly and gladly open to that possibility and step into it. Allowing energy to flow and emotions to flow. Now bringing all of these instruments of peace into your heart, all human beings, loved ones, strangers, and adversaries. Letting that resonate in your heart. As you bring your awareness back to your orchestra, to those in this meditation circle, with honor, respect, gratitude, taking those in this meditation circle into your heart that resonate as you bring your awareness back to your surroundings. Expressing gratitude for the things that you own, for walls that you have, the roof you have, heat and air conditioning, running water, all the benefits, privileges that you have at this moment. Taking those surroundings now into your heart as you bring your awareness back to yourself. With this full resonance in your heart, connection with something larger than yourself, your highest values, your highest human potential. Just one more time, if these words resonate with you, that reverberate through you, I will to will, I will. Make me an instrument of likeness. Let all of that seep into your nervous system, helping you remember this. Allowing all of your cells to receive this, to nurture that, coming alive, vital, vibrant. Feeding and nurturing your organs. Allowing this resonant energy to flow into your core, filling up your battery. As a way to close this practice, let's take one final breath in through your nose, out through your mouth. Slowly open your eyes, stretch your body and shake your body around the room. So we started with our motivation. We did our practice, and now we have a chance to reflect. I'd love to hear your thoughts on some of what I said. Hi, Patty, it's great to see you. Any thoughts on this?
When you were relating it to music and harmonizing, and I thought about dissonance and how I had this feeling that I wanted to include dissonance because there is so much dissonance in the world. And sometimes dissonance can be really beautiful. So I just wanted to bring that in, to hold that with all of it.
I love that because that still implies we're making music together, right? You know, like with, for instance, if it's adversaries or whatever, right? That we have dissonance with, or even our loved ones, let's say. Yeah. We're still making music. We're still engaged.
Right.
We're still interconnected. So it's beautiful.
What came to mind for me was the that act of sending a text message. How often people, just it seems like random people from my past, maybe people I've worked with, people I've met, will just pop into my consciousness. And sometimes it's not even people that I had a close relationship with, or it's not even associated with the memory. They make an appearance. And what would it be like that when someone makes an appearance, I acknowledge that appearance to them, and how that could be a connecting act.
Yeah, and if I may add to that, we don't know the source of the inspiration of that thought, right? Is that coming from something larger than ourselves? Is it coming from our highest selves? Is it on some level, is it coming from our wisdom? And how willing are we to act on it? We've kind of trained it out of us to trust that's, one might call that intuition.
Yeah, the mind steps in and says, well, that's funny, or that doesn't make sense, or why are you doing that?
Yeah. But it could also be like, I want to work with that nonprofit. Like, there's like, well, wouldn't it be interesting to work with that nonprofit? Whatever. I have neighbors. I wonder how my neighbors are doing. All of it, Mine jumps in. All of that.
So Joe, we have a very good friend who took his own life, and his wife is a very, very long time friend of mine. And she's on a campaign to have people use that term rather than use the word commit suicide, because she feels it's too clinical and takes all of the compassion out. And so she's now writing to, whenever she reads in the paper, a reporter using that other word, she writes and explains why she feels that strips the compassion out of the article. So it's an interesting perspective, which I wanted to share with you in the group.
Thank you. I'll make the adjustment. I appreciate that. Thank you. It's a good adjustment.
What was the adjustment? I'm sorry, I didn't grasp that.
To substitute the word commit suicide to instead use the phrase took his own life or took her own life,
Okay.
because that resonates in terms of the life force, as opposed to being a clinical kind of cold statement that's just a statistic. There's humanity in that. And so Nancy, the wife of the man, Tom, who did this because of his tremendous amount of physical pain he couldn't endure anymore, is on a campaign. She's decided that's her way to help make a difference, to get people to think about the impact of saying it differently, because it resonates in a way. I feel it. And I was with Nancy for many weeks after this happened. I flew to California to be with her, just to be with her, not to talk about anything, just be. And that, I think, is kind of, Joe, compassion.
Yes. That's it. Thank you, Barbara.
I think sometimes that I'll have compassionate thoughts. And I love this whole thing of, it coming through the body, because I'll have compassionate thoughts like, how is my neighbor? And then I have resistance to moving it to an action step. And usually it has to do with, they don't want to hear from me. And that's my own story that doesn't work for my instrument that I'm carrying. So I feel very inspired by this, to move it into, when I have the thought, to move it into it goes into my heart, but then it doesn't go into my body, into an action step. And I love that idea and intend on practicing it.
Thank you, Tia. That's great. Yeah. Okay. Well, thank you. Thank you for holding space for that. That came. You can tell that really I needed to get that off of my heart, and it's been with me for a while now, and it's helped clarify that. Spread the word for this. I'm thinking it might be nice to get this one out to some people who we know, this particular recording. And as I always say, if it might be nice to see some new faces if you know people who might want to join us for this. And if you are in contact with those who've been here before, just say hello. Encourage them to join us as well. Just letting you know, we have an event coming up on Saturday. It's the Fierce Ability Introduction course. It's 2.5 hours online. It's contribution based. And Fierce Ability is this practice of being compassionate and to be able to hold that in a world that is very polarized. So it's just an overview and an introduction. There'll be theory and there'll be some interactive exercises and similar exercises to what we do here. But if you can join us, please do. And if you could, maybe even just click the link and pass it on to some people you know. I did post it on Facebook friends. And as always, if you want to make a donation to the Fierce Ability Project for this session, please do. Todd, is there any other announcements to make?
No, I don't think so.
All right, well, be well. Have a good week. Keep your instrument well tuned. And we'll see you next week. Bye-bye.
Thank you, Joe.
Thank you.
Thank you, Joe.